Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। ओम पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्धदामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्ख्यपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तन्न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Namaste once again everyone.
Namaste Guruji.
Namaste. चातुर्वर्ण्यं मया सृष्टं गुणकर्म विभागशः तस्य कर्तारमपि मां विद्य कर्तारमव्ययम्. So in the last class we saw that in this shloka, while stating that he is the creator of the Varnashrama Vyavastha, Krishna is emphasizing one very important fact, that he also is engaged in action in karma. Because creation of these Vedas, creation of this Varnashrama Vyavastha is also a karma which Krishna has done. And not only that, he is not only the Srishtikarta, Sthitikarta, also a Layakarta. So constantly he is involved in action. But he is very quick to add that even though he is engaged in karma, Vidhi akartaram abhyayam, hey Arjuna, may you know that the result of the actions do not accrue to me, because I am detached from all those karmas. I do not carry the burden of those karmas with me always, worrying about what the results those karmas will bring, etc. Therefore, being detached from these karmas, I am avyayam. Here the word avyayam we must translate as unaffected, asangaha. Therefore he says, Arjuna, do not think of giving up karma. You cannot give up karma. That is not in your blood. That is not in your nature. And not only that, you need not give up karma also. You can enjoy peace in spite of karma. All that you have to do is to develop an attitude of akartritvam, non-doership. Therefore, refrain from doing karma is not possible nor important. What is important is detaching yourself from the results of karma, doing all actions without any binding expectations. Because it is said in the scripture that karmana badhyate jantu. By action, a person is bound. And it is not only scripturally true, and it appears true from our experience also. Whenever we take up any action, there is a strain in our personality because we do not know whether we will be able to successfully complete that action or not. Therefore, there is a lot of tension. In fact, this happens even if we are not doing any karma, but someone else is involved in the action. For example, India's cricket team is playing, let us assume, the final of the World Cup. We will have a lot of anxiety, those who are involved in cricket, of course. Lot of anxiety whether India will win the cup or not. Even when we are directly involved in action, the result of action is not dependent on our action. Even though we have a lot of power, even though we can influence the result of action, we cannot totally control the result of action. This is determined by so many other factors. This we have already seen. So, coming back to the World Cup, even though we have absolutely no control over the action, even the action we have no control because somebody else is going to bowl and somebody else is going to face the bowling, still we become very, very anxious. Therefore, what is going to happen, the future is entirely unpredictable, giving us anxious moments. And when the future comes and it is not to our expectations, there is a lot of frustration and depression. Thus, karma seems to be the cause of worry before it starts, during its presence, and later when it gets converted into its consequence. And as we have seen, Arjuna experiences this intensely in the Mahabharata field. First chapter and beginning of second chapter we saw. Therefore, Krishna wants to teach Arjuna how to be involved in action, but at the same time not to be affected by the action, by insulating the mind from the tyrannies of action. Not only Arjuna, this advice is very much useful and required for all spiritual seekers. There is only one way to insulate yourself from this, and it is called what? Jnanam. So apply the Jnanam insulation and enter into karma from which you can never escape. And once you insulate yourself, not only karma will not disturb you, but karma will also begin to appear like a game or a sport. For a jnani, karma is a sport. For an ajnani, karma is a burden. And that is why when Bhagavan comes down, takes avatara, and does lots of activities, we give a special name called Leela. Even destroying powerful enemies for Bhagavan is a Leela. For a jnani, every action is a Leela, it is a sport. He just enjoys doing the action without any binding expectations from the action. This is what Krishna is emphasizing in these slokas. Now let us go to the next sloka. He says, Namam karmani limpante Na me karma phale spruha iti mam yo bijanati karma bhirna sabhadyate. So the Anvaya of the sloka is Karmani na limpanti mam mena spruha karma phale iti saha yaha abhijanati mam na badhyate karma bihi. Karmani, actions, na limpanti mam, do not affect me. Me na spruha, I do not have a craving. Karma phale, with regard to the results of action. Iti, thus, saha yaha abhijanati mam, he who clearly knows me, na bhadyate, is not bound karma bihi by actions. So actions do not affect me because I have no craving with regard to the result of action. In this manner, thus, he who clearly knows me is also not bound by actions. Slowly, Krishna is now getting into what exactly Jnanam is. We all talk about Jnanam, Jnanakanda, Upanishads, self-knowledge, etc. What are the components of that self-knowledge? Krishna is now slowly getting into that. So he says, karma cannot disturb me. Not only karma cannot disturb me, but karma phalam also cannot disturb me. Because karma can give tension, karma phalam can give regrets and disappointments. So both are not there for me. Therefore, he says, Namam karmani limpanti. Limpanti means affect. Stick to, you can put it also. Karmas do not affect me by creating tension, anxiety. And not only that, karma phale api spruha nasti. I do not have even the concern, no concern for results. I have no craving for the results of action. And why is that? He explains, I am not concerned about the result of action because every action is going to create an appropriate result. And I believe that the Lord will never do injustice to me. Because as it is said, if you firmly believe, I always get what I deserve, not necessarily what I desire. That is the secret of handling all your karmas. Therefore, the Lord is always just. He is also just. And therefore, whatever has to happen according to karma, it will happen. Therefore, I am not concerned about the result. Here, one thing we have to note. When you say, I am not concerned about the result, that does not mean that you take karmas, the actions lightly. In any case, I am not going to be concerned about the results. So whatever I do, it doesn't matter. Whatever way I do, it doesn't matter. That is not the idea behind this. Because we have to note that planning for the result is one thing, but worrying over the result is an entirely different thing. Vedanta is never against planning. Vedanta is never against expecting result for the action that you do. So we have to be very careful in understanding. When we say, I am not worried about the result, that does not mean I am not expecting any result. I may expect some result for whatever action I am doing, but I am not worried about whether that result will come or not, because I have faith in God. I have a prasada buddhi which I have developed over a long period of time by engaging myself in karma yoga. So whatever result comes, I will accept it as Ishvara prasada. So that does not mean that I don't do plan for some particular result. Because without planning, one cannot do anything. Even to travel by train or plane and all, we have to plan. Purchase the ticket. Actually, go to the airport or railway station well in time to take that. All this has to be planned. Planning actually makes me an efficient in the present. In fact, in the management studies, especially when we talk of project management, research shows that if you spend 80 to 85% of your time and efforts on planning for a project, then implementation becomes easier and quicker. On the other hand, if you do not have any plans at all, even 100% time and effort you put in implementation, things can go haywire. Therefore, Vedanta is not against planning, because planning makes me more efficient in the present. What Vedanta against is worrying about the result. Because the more I worry, the more inefficient I become. In fact, I will become deficient. So planning leads to efficiency, worrying leads to deficiency. Now the question is, many people get confused between planning and worrying. How do you know whether I am planning or worrying? Many people actually, they are worrying thinking that they are planning. Actually, what is happening is worrying. How do you know? It's very simple. Planning is a deliberate action which you can fix and do it at a particular time. Suppose you are handling 4 projects. I'll say I am going to involve myself in planning the execution of this project A from so and so time to so and so time. Project B from so and so to so and so time. So you can make a timetable for planning. Whereas worry is not a deliberate action. Worry is a helpless happening. It's a mechanical reaction. So planning is a deliberate action. Worrying is a mechanical reaction. And that's why, you cannot do a timetable and fix up some time for worrying. Okay, I am going to from morning 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, I will do planning. From 11 to 1, I will do worrying. You can't do that. Worry doesn't lend itself to any planning. Suddenly worry will come. You may be looking at something and some other thought will be triggered and you will start worrying about it. So we cannot schedule a specific time for worrying. You cannot plan to worry. Worrying happens. And therefore, once I have planned and decided to implement, thereafter, there is no use worrying about whether the implementation will be successful or not. We have seen this in very great detail. Karmanyevadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Such shloka, such teaching come in very handy in these circumstances. It immediately reminds us of that. Therefore, Krishna says, Name karma phale spruha. I just do what I need to do, what I have to do. I have no anxiety about the results. I am not concerned even about the outcome of this Mahabharata war. And the reason Krishna does not have this problem is because he has protected himself with the armor called Jnanam. So he says, hey Arjuna, I have the knowledge And knowledge is power. Knowledge is defense. Knowledge is the best remedy for all problems. Even physical problems can be solved by knowledge, because knowledge increases our mental health. And many of our problems are, if you look at it, psychosomatic diseases, because of psychosomatic diseases. So when mental health is improved, physical health will also improve, and therefore my armor is knowledge, jnanam. And that's why Lord Vishnu also holds the chakram, which is called Sudarshana Chakram. We have all heard about Sudarshana Chakram, but how many of us know the meaning of Sudarshana? In Sanskrit, Darshanam has got a meaning, Jnanam. Knowledge is called Darshanam. That's why philosophies are also called Darshanams. Sudarshanam means the right knowledge. Sushtu Darshanam, Sudarshanam. So with the chakram of Sudarshanam, I destroy the samsara. I destroy ajnanam and ajnanajanya adhyasa. I destroy adhyasa janya karma. I destroy karma janya punya papae. I destroy punya papa janya sukha dukkham. Everything I destroy. So when you are actually, all our Puranas, everything, whatever is depicted there, whatever is illustrated there, everything has got a deep meaning. When you understand this, and the moment you see the image of Vishnu with a Sudarshana Chakram in his hand, you will immediately be reminded what is most important in my life is that Sudarshanam, which is the right knowledge. It's also symbolic. And what Krishna is saying here is that Sudarshana Chakram is not uniquely mine. You can also get this Sudarshana Chakra. You can also get this Jnanam Arjuna. Therefore, Krishna says here, Mam yaha iti abhijanati. So the one who knows the secret of mine. What is the secret? Freedom in spite of activity. Mind you, not freedom from activity, not freedom from responsibility, but freedom in spite of activity, freedom in spite of responsibility. Whoever discovers this secret has got jnanam. He has knowledge and he is a liberated person. Now, Krishna has not till now defined what jnanam is. He has been saying jnanam, jnanam and all, but we have not discussed in detail what that jnanam is. We have touched upon it in the second chapter from 12 to 25 slokas, sloka number 12 to 25. Krishna is maintaining the suspense. Maybe the reason Krishna is because then only we will come to the classes regularly. If he reveals the success in the second scene itself, nobody will attend the class. So he is retaining it. But anyhow, he is not so unsympathetic. From verses 18 to 24, he is going to take us through what this jnanam means. There we will get the secret knowledge known as self-knowledge. Because in the 18th chapter, he will tell Arjuna that this knowledge is guhya taram, guhyat guhyataram, guhyatamam, paramam guhyam. All these adjectives he uses. It is the secret of all secrets, the highest secret among all secrets, topmost secret, this self-knowledge. So the one who has discovered this secret knowledge, saha karma bhirna badhyate. He is not bound by his actions. Even a jnani is not bound by karma, just as Bhagavan is not bound by his karma. So, in this context, what is the advice he is giving to Arjuna? We will see the next sloka. 15th sloka. Evam yatva kritam karma urvairapi mumukshubhihi kuru karmaiva tasmatvam purvai purvataram kritam. Anvaya is evam yatva karma kritam purvaihi mumukshubhihi api tasmat tvam kuru eva karma purvataram kritam purvaihi. Or purvaihi purvataram kritam. Can change the order also. Evam yatva, having known thus, karma kritam, action has been performed, purvaihi mumukshubhihi api, by ancient seekers of liberation also. Tasmat, therefore, tvam kuru eva karma, you perform action only, purvataram kritam, which has been done formerly, purvaihi, by the ancients. The ancients here means the forefathers of Arjuna, great grandfathers, etc. Previous generations. So, having known thus means what? Having known that by jnanam, karma will not become a binding karma. With this knowledge, action has been performed by ancient seekers of liberation also. Therefore, you perform action only which has been done formerly by the ancients. Everybody in the lineage has done this. Why you are treating yourself as an exception, O Arjuna? You are trying to run away from your karma, from this battlefield. That is the whole problem Krishna is addressing through all these things. So here Krishna says that this secret knowledge, this self-knowledge, actually speaking, is not all that secret. All the ancients or your forefathers also possess this knowledge. So I am not giving you a unique knowledge. This method has been used, employed by your forefathers successfully. Because it is a human tendency. If somebody comes and tells us you do this, and we are not sure, we have got a lot of doubts, the first question we'll ask is, if somebody else has done this previously and been successful. Krishna anticipates such a question from Arjuna. And therefore he says, Purvaihi mumukshubhihi evam gyatva. Purvaihi mumukshubhihi, all your forefathers who were seekers, evam gyatva, having gained this self-knowledge, evam means in this manner. As I have discussed before, as I will be discussing later also. This self-knowledge has been gained by your forefathers. And what did they do? They did not run away from their responsibilities, just as you are trying to shamelessly run away from this battlefield. They were also grihasthas. They were also ruling kingdoms, but they were never affected. They did whatever they had to do. They performed their actions, karma kritam. Even though they were extremely busy, inside they were cool like cucumber. They had inner peace in spite of external activities. And if your fathers can do that, your forefathers can do that, why can't you also do the same, O Arjuna? Therefore he says, Tasmat. Therefore, Tvam api eva karma kuru. You also perform your duties, remaining in grihastha. Whenever you face problems in life, Do not rush into thinking of sannyasa. Do not have an urge to run away. If at all one takes to sannyasa, he should take to sannyasa when problems are not there. Then only that sannyasa will have its real meaning as a true quest for knowledge. Escapist sannyasa will not work, and it is not accepted also. And therefore, Arjuna, remain where you are, do the karma, purvaihi purvataram kritam, do the same karma with the same attitude with which your forefathers performed. So now, if you look at it, here Krishna is prescribing jati-based profession. In fact, if we look at it, all Smriti Granthas prescribed jati-based profession only. Of course, in modern time, even that is all gone away rather. Krishna is talking about the practice which was prevalent in those days. Till about maybe the first 500,000 years of this Kali Yuga also, this practice was prevalent. It's only, I think, after the Mughal invasion, then followed by, first, of course, that invasion of that allowed, what is his name, 1100 or 1000 AD or 1100, Muhammad Ghazni invasion, followed by the Mughal invasion in the 16th century, followed by this British takeover. These last 1,000 years, all these practices which were prevalent in the earlier times, they have all gone away rather. Anyhow, coming back. So Krishna continues with the same topic in the next sloka also. Kim karma kima karmete kavayopyatra mohita tatte karma pravakshyami yajnatva mokshase shubhat. Anvaya is kim karma, kim akarma. Iti atra kavayah api mohitaah. Tat karma te pravakshyami yat jnatva ashubhat mokshase. So slowly he is now revealing. See, we have talked about karma, actionless. That is not. He talked about karma, doing karma with without expectations of any result. Then the one question will come: and if I should not be affected by the result, why should I do karma at all? I'll just do actionless. I will remain. Then obviously there is no question of any result binding me, no question of any expectation of result. So Krishna says all that is not possible. So slowly he is opening up what the karma topic. Kim karma, what is action? Kim akarma, what is actionlessness? Iti atra, in this regard. Kavayah api, even sages. Mohita hai or deluded. Tat, that. Pravakshami te, I shall teach you. Karma, action. Yat jnatva, knowing which. Ashubhat mokshase, you will be freed from its evil effect, the binding nature of the karma, which is what is called, we call samsara. So what is action? What is actionlessness? In this regard, even sages are deluded. Therefore, I shall teach you action, knowing which you will be freed from samsara. So Krishna wants to present jnanam or knowledge as the safeguard or armor. And once you say jnanam is the solution for the problem of stress, tension, anxiety, and depression, naturally the question will be jnanam about what? Because you can never refer to jnanam without referring to the object of knowledge. Therefore, what knowledge do I acquire to protect myself? And Krishna begins, the very first step is you must acquire the knowledge of the nature of karma. What exactly do we mean by action? Where does it arise? To whom does the action belong to? This inquiry is important because all along we have been taking taking this action for granted. If I am doing an action, I am doing an action. So many things in our life we take for granted, isn't it? We don't think into it, we don't apply our mind. Of course, that's the nature of a human being. It's not our fault alone. For generations and generations, people in the West thought the earth was flat, it was stationary, and the sun was going around the earth. Then someone like Copernicus or someone comes around and declares that the sun is in the center and the earth is moving around it, which is the reality. Initially, people refused to accept this. Of course, our scriptures, I'm not talking about because they talked about all these things eons ago. I'm talking about the Western scientists. It's only recently that they have accepted this theory. Another example I can give you, people have been observing apples falling from the trees onto the ground. No one pondered why it should fall down and not float in the air or go up. Only a rare scientist thought about this and came up with the theory of gravity. Thus, in life, many things we have taken for granted. And one thing we have taken for granted is the nature of our action. Likewise, we see that we are doing lots of actions, and therefore we say, I am doing the action, and therefore you think that action belongs to you. Then the question comes, what exactly is is meant by the word I or you? Therefore, we have to get into a basic inquiry of what is the nature of karma. Where does karma arise? And this inquiry is important because our basic misconception is that we are all doing actions. Krishna wants to dispel this notion and point out to Arjuna and also to all of us that he himself, though appearing to be doing all actions, actually was not doing any action at all. And when we listen to that, we are going to be as much surprised as the generation which first listened to the news that the sun does not go around but the earth goes around the sun. Unbelievable, they will say. And that's why, systematic, consistent study for a long period of time of Vedanta scriptures becomes very, very important. Maybe after 25 years of study or something, we will say, even though I do not accept, but perhaps it may be true. Even at that time, the conviction might not have come rather. Therefore, if you want to get out of tension caused by your duties and responsibilities in life, you should know exactly what is the nature of karma is. And of course, Krishna admits that it is not an easy subject. That's why he says even great philosophers, great thinkers have analyzed this. And after long analysis, they have come to a wrong conclusion also. He says it's such a subtle topic and therefore its importance. And he says, Arjuna, I want to discuss this topic. That's why he says, Atra kavayah api mohita hai. Kavayah means philosophers, pandita hai, scholars, great thinkers. Api mohita hai. Even they are deluded, they are confused. Confused with regard to what? Atra, with regard to the subject matter of what exactly is this karma. And what is that? Kim karma, what exactly is action? And kim akarma, what exactly is actionless or inaction? Therefore, what I am going to teach you, Arjuna, tat karma te pravakshyami. That. The tat can be taken as tasmat also. Doesn't matter because the language allows it rather. Therefore, tasmat means therefore. Therefore, this being a very subtle subject, te karma pravakshyami, I shall deal with the topic of the nature of karma. And this discussion is not merely of academic interest alone. This is not an armchair philosophy subject. It has got a tremendous practical value in life also. And what is the practical value? He says, Yat Nyatva Mokshase. By gaining this knowledge, you will get freedom. You will get liberation. You will be freed. You will get moksha. And you will be released from ashubhat, from all types of pains in your mind. Ashubham we can interpret as amangalam. Amangalam means you can say pain, sorrows caused by anxiety, tension, worry, jealousy, all those, depression. You will be freed from all these things. And citing cricket as an example, Swami Paramatananda ji says that one and the same karma can give extremely opposite results to different people. Beautiful example he gives. Right now, cricket season is going on, so it's very relevant. For example, in a cricket match, the last ball is to be bowled, and that ball may determine which side will win. Both teams will be anxious to win the match. When that ball is bowled, one team will be on the top, the other team will be pushed behind. So thus, the action of bowling that ball, one and the same karma, gives one person extreme happiness and another person or group of persons extreme sorrow. So what does that mean? It means that I do not seem to have any control at all whether I should be happy or I should be unhappy. That means what? All along, I have been considering the world as the switchboard of my happiness. If the world switches on, I will be happy. If the world switches off, I will be unhappy. This is what foolishly I have been considering. And I have been actually correlating that to my actions. Swami Paramatananda ji gives another very beautiful example. He says, somebody has said, do you want to be a thermometer or a thermostat? What is the difference? Thermometer is that which goes up and down. That is, the temperature goes up and down depending upon the conditions in the surrounding. So the surroundings determine the condition of the thermometer. Whereas a thermostat is that which controls the environment, which controls the surroundings. Similarly, a jnani is one who is the master of the situation. And an Ajnani is one who is mastered by, who is enslaved by the situation. Therefore, by gaining this knowledge, you are released from the tyranny of surrounding and the people. So be like a thermostat, unaffected by both karma as well as the karma phala. You can fight the Mahabharata war, or you can put it, I will put it where you can fight the samsara, which is like a Mahabharata war, coolly. So Ashubhat Mokshase. Here Ashubha we can interpret as samsara also. Ashubhat Mokshase will mean you will be freed from samsara. Continuing. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam. Bodhavyam cha vikarmanah. Akarmanascha bodhavyam. Gahana karmano gatihi. Annaya is karmana hi api bodhavyam. Vikarmanah cha bodhavyam. Tatha akarmanah cha bodhavyam. Karmanah gatihi gahana. Karmanah hi api. Prescribed action also, bodhavyam, should be known. Vikarmanah cha, prohibited action also, bodhavyam, should be known. Akarmanah cha, inaction also, bodhavyam, should be known. Karmanah gatihi, for the nature of action, gahana, is subtle. So the prescribed action should also be known. Prohibited action also should be known. What is inaction should also be known, because the nature of action itself is so subtle. So we have to know all these three things very clearly. So here Krishna is saying, not only I am going to teach you about karma, I will also teach you two allied subjects which go along with the topic of karma. So in all, I will teach you three things. What are they? Karmana hi api bodhavyam. You have to clearly know what is the nature of karma, what is the nature, what are the prescribed karmas, vihita karmas. And vikarmana cha bodhavyam. Vikarma means viparita karma, wrong action, nishiddha karma, prohibited action. So vikarma, we can take it as prohibited actions. So that also, what are permitted actions, what are prohibited actions, both of them you should know. And not only that, akarmana cha bodhavyam. You should also know what is akarma. Akarma means inaction. Therefore, what is action, what is prohibited action or wrong action, and what is inaction, all these three you have to thoroughly understand. Not only these will lead to problems, because ultimately, as I said, knowledge is power. And most importantly, you should take the initiative to know, because this knowledge will not come automatically to you. You have to work to gain that knowledge. And therefore he says, karmana gatihi gahana. Gahana means subtle. Gatihi means the nature. Now the word gati has got different meanings in the language. Several meanings are there. But in this context, we have to take gati as meaning swarupam, nature. Therefore, karmana gati means nature of action is gahana, extremely subtle. What does that mean? That means that Without Guru Shastra Upadesha, you can never understand these on your own. So, up to this, Krishna has given the introduction to Jnana as an insulating material. Now, we are coming to the 18th sloka. He is going to enter into expounding what that knowledge is. So, from the next verse, he starts describing what that knowledge is. A very cryptic sloka. Karmanya karmayah pashyet akarmani cha karmayah sabuddhiman manusyeshu sayukta krishna karma krita. The Anvaya is Saha yaha pashyet karmani akarmacha yaha akarmani karma pashyet. We can supply pashyet manusyeshu buddhiman saha yuktaha saha krishna karma krit. Saha yaha pashyet, he who sees akarma, actionless of the self, karmani, in the action of the body, cha yaha pashyet, one who sees akarmani karma, potential action in inaction of the body, buddhiman is wise, manushyeshu among men, sa yuktaha, he is a yogi, krishna karma krit, who has accomplished everything. So he who sees actionless of the self in the action of the body, and he who sees potential action in the inaction of the body is wise among men. He is a yogi who has accomplished everything. So as I said, from this 18th verse onwards up to 24th verse, Krishna deals with knowledge, which is a solution for all human problems. And this is the main portion. And this portion, 18 to 24, is actually the main topic of the 4th chapter. And that's why it is called Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Therefore, this is an extremely important portion, this 18 to 24. Actually, not only in the 4th chapter, in the entire Gita, this portion is important because in this portion only Krishna condenses the teachings of all Upanishads. And because of this portion alone, and also similar portions alone, Bhagavad Gita is called a Upanishad. Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita su Upanishadsu. If Gita is called an Upanishad, it is because of this subject matter of Jnanam alone. We saw in detail what is Karma Yoga. That is not the essence of Upanishad. Even Bhakti is not the essence of Upanishad. For that matter, even Ashtanga Yoga or meditation is not the essence of Upanishad. The essence of Upanishad is Jnanam. And that Jnanam we find in few places in the Gita. Like in the 2nd chapter, we saw verse 12 to 25. And the next place, Krishna gives the crux of Upanishad is in this portion, verses 18 to 24. And the verse 18 is considered to be very, very significant verse. Not only significant, very difficult to understand also. It's a very complex verse because Krishna uses the language of contradiction to make us think well. Otherwise, normally what we will do, we will superficially listen to the Gita and then complain that everything is going above my head. So when it comes to slokas like this, there is a need to apply our mind totally, because we need to understand the contradictory language which Krishna uses. If you translate this sloka literally, it will not make any sense at all. And that is why again and again it is emphasized that Guru from the parampara is required to learn all these things. In fact, if you read this sloka and you don't understand, you will throw away Bhagavad Gita and actually lose all the value that you can get from this wonderful scripture. In the first lines, he says, the wise person sees action in inaction. Wise person sees action in inaction. And the wise person also sees inaction in action. What do you understand by this? A wise person sees action in inaction, and the wise person sees inaction in action. What is the contradiction? If you see a thing wrongly, then can you be a wise person? Whom do we call a wise person? If I say a towel is a towel, I am wise. But if I say this is a cup, then I am what? I'm an ignorant person. I don't know what it is, then the real nature of that is. So when I see a thing wrongly, I can never be called a wise person. Whereas Krishna is saying here, the one who sees action in inaction, he is seeing rightly. So in action, we should see inaction. So the one who sees action in action must be having the right vision. If I see inaction in inaction, then also I have the right vision. Right? But Krishna is saying, the one who sees action in inaction and inaction in action, that person has got the right vision and he is the wise person. Therefore, as I said, this sloka requires very deep probing and understanding. And that is why, Adi Shankaracharya and also many Acharyas who are in the parampara, they write a very, very elaborate and significant commentary on such verses. If you look at that Bhashyam, other verses and all like Karma Yoga and all that, they will just finish off the commentary in 2-3 lines. Now, what is there to talk about? Of course, when we are explaining, we will add some examples and all that to make it more clear, the idea. But there is nothing much to explain. Like, for example, in this class, we have seen 3 slokas. There's nothing much to explain. Very straightforward word meanings you give and maybe 1 or 2 examples you add and then you explain. But when such verses come, Shankaracharya and other Acharyas, they write very beautiful and significant commentary. Because of that alone, we are able to understand that also. So more about this complicated sloka we will see in the next class. Okay, close it. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji.
Guruji,
Yeah.
Thank you,
this
Guruji.
responsibility and freedom. Responsibility and freedom. When you have a responsibility in hand, how can freedom be there? Are they not contradictory?
When you see inaction in action,
Agreed. Agreed.
you will understand in the next class. That is the answer. Because that is our present problem is that, right?
Many of us have gone through in practical life, when the responsibility comes on your shoulders,
Correct.
I don't think you experience freedom.
You don't.
Because along with that comes the worries also.
Where we are at
Beg
present,
pardon?
where we are all at present, what you are saying is absolutely 100% true. Right? But where is freedom? What do you mean by freedom? Freedom is freedom from these worries, anxieties, and all that. So it looks like a contradiction. We have responsibilities. Worry follows the responsibilities. But at the same time,
Precisely.
at the same time, we say that we have to be free. So how do we actually, that is essentially the contradiction which this shloka is bringing up. And when we understand this shloka in its entirety in the next class, profound shloka it is. It's a very, very complicated shloka. And if you remember in one of the earlier talks, I had talked about how this Mahabharata was written. Mahabharata, Vedavyasa wanted somebody to write the Mahabharata. So he couldn't find anybody who could write as fast as he could actually visualize these slokas. So he called Ganesha. Then assigned the job. Ganesha put one condition. He said that you should not stop dictating the slokas. Then I will undertake this job. So, but
understood.
But for creating the slokas, many times he will require some time, isn't it, to think about. It has to be done in meter and things. All grammatical things have to be followed. So Vedavyasa put a counter condition. So he said, agreed, I will continuously dictate, but you must not write any sloka without understanding the meaning of that sloka. Ganesha agreed. Then what Vedavyasa does is, he sees slokas and all, he won't go on dictate. Then in between, he will come up with a complicated sloka, which will make Ganesha think about the meaning of that sloka. Then he will use that time to compose more slokas, maybe another 10, 15 slokas.
Yes, true.
That is how in between and all, we will get these one or two slokas, which are very complicated and which are actually the essence of the entire teaching rather. When we come to such slokas, we have to spend more time to understand, because what you asked was absolutely very genuine question, and that is the situation we are all in. Our aim as a seeker is to get out of this situation without changing anything around us. We cannot say that I'm going to run away to Rishikesh and sit in a place where there is nobody and then I will be free. We can't say that. In fact, we should not say that. Your freedom you must enjoy when you are in midst of all these things. That is real freedom. Even though you are attached, you must detach yourself. For that, you have to understand various dimensions of this issue. Whenever we are saying it is my duty, how do we define what is my duty, what is my responsibility? How do we define it? How do I understand it? If I understand my responsibility as also being responsible for the results, consequences of that responsibility, is that a correct understanding? That's why many people get it very wrong with bringing up children.
Hmm.
We think that our responsibility is to give the right values to the children, to give the right guidance to the children, to bringing them up, as a proper good citizen and all that. By that, if the children turn out otherwise, we think that we are responsible for what the children has become, despite what all things that we have done for them. Correct?
Absolutely correct. Without a doubt.
Without a doubt, that is what is our current situation. Now, if you just reflect back in what I said, you have discharged your responsibility. You have actually given everything you felt was right for the children in terms of values, in terms of guidance, etc. But they turn out otherwise. How wise you would be to own up the responsibility for what they have become? You have to think. That is why, many times I give that example. The personality of every individual has got 4 different constituents. We must actually understand all those 4 constituents of a personality and then decide what is our role and where does that role end and what could be the consequences of that role. So it's a very deep subject. We have to go deep into it. Merely saying that, oh, I did all these things, my child, my son who has grown up, got married, now doesn't even turn back and look at me. Is only you are committing, you have, apne pair mein kuladi marna. You are actually blaming yourself for which you are not responsible at all. Because what the son ultimately becomes. Now I'll tell you a very, very, very simple example. Now you like planting trees. You have planted some nice tulsi plant. You have planted in a pot, tulsi plant, right? Now
True.
that plant has sprouted. You are watering it every day. You are doing puja and all that, everything. After about 2-3 months, you find that the whole plant has died. It's all become dry. Will you worry about it? My question, oh my God, I did all these things. Still the plant has died. Will we worry about it? We will only say, our answer will be, yes, the plant has died. It has become totally dry. There must have been a reason which was not in my control because of which the plant died. I did everything I could do for the survival of the plant, but it still died. So there are so many other factors. Maybe the weather was not right. Maybe there was too much of heat from the sun or too much cold in the place where the plant was put. Or maybe that the plant got affected by some bacteria, some disease which it caught from the environment. Can we take responsibility for all those things?
But Guruji, under certain circumstances, when your efforts fail, with best of efforts, let me put it that way, then you feel guilty.
That is because you are owning up. What is happening is you are not seeing inaction in action. You should karmanyevadikaraste. We saw that sloka in so detail. Our job, our attitude, our approach, I do my effort.
Yeah.
I
Don't
can
claim
plan.
doership.
I can plan that if I do all these things in this way, this expected result, which I have got this expectation of the result, it will happen that way. It may happen, no problem. You'll be happy. But if it does not happen, don't take the blame on yourself, because you are not the only factor determining the result. There are 100 other factors. If you understand there are 100 other factors, even a doctor, when you admit a patient, he will try to give the best of the treatment.
Best. Correct.
Lastly, what he will say, we have done our best, now you pray. Is it not very common? Is it not common for doctors to say that we have done our best? Now you pray.
Of course.
That's it. So that is that thing, we just take all these things casually, we take it. If you apply your mind to what exactly is happening there and then develop on it, assimilate that kind of an attitude, that is what is freedom is all about. I am free from the burden, from the response. I am not free from the responsibilities, but I am free from the consequences of the responsibilities. That is the difference. I have discharged the responsibility the best of my ability.
Management, they say, I have control only on the controllables. I
Yeah.
have no control on the uncontrollables.
Controllable, exactly. But you must understand what is controllable, what is uncontrollable.
What is
That
Fortunately,
you
what we
need
do
wish.
is we take responsibility for uncontrollables also and keep worrying.
Keep worrying. True.
That is what is all this Bhagavad Gita, Upanishad knowledge is all about. And it is not going to change our thoughts or our attitudes overnight. But the more and more you keep listening to this, you keep reflecting on this, then you will realize that there is a way out. There is actually a very, as they say, patli gali is there. So you can get out of that.
Escape route.
Escape. There
Yeah.
is an escape from all this problem. That's why I say that many times one of the problems that, of course, from the learning of all the scriptures, we know we have got a next birth, and that birth we do not know whether we are going to be a human being or a
Human being or
whatever
not.
it is. I say there is one way to ensure that you get a human birth, which is study Vedanta. Start studying Vedanta in this birth. Because even if you don't get moksha, Krishna will say later on, we'll come to that, he will tell Arjuna, will ask, what happens that if I do all these things and by the time I die, I don't get moksha? Means in the next birth, will I start again from,
From scratch. From scratch.
From scratch. Krishna says no. He says no. Next
You will continue
birth,
from where you left in the
start
last
from
birth.
where you left off. Which means what? You can do that only if you're born as a human being.
Human being.
Is it? So
Correct.
here is a secret.
Correct.
Here's a secret. Till the end of this life, continue with Vedanta. Don't have any anxiety whether you're going to get moksha or not, whether you will become free or not. Of course, there are certain benefits you will continue getting if you are with this knowledge, you imbibe this knowledge and you assimilate this knowledge and you try to live according to this knowledge, there will be benefit.
Correct.
But in the end, suppose it doesn't happen, next birth, human birth is assured for you, because you will have to continue from where you are left off.
But that human birth should be at the right place.
That also Krishna says. You will be born in a family. You will be born in an environment which will promote this knowledge and allow you to continue with this knowledge. That is the guarantee, assurance which Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita itself. What else do we want? If I am not able to complete, because what will happen is, suppose I say I don't complete, Next I am born as a lizard. Then another birth I am born as some plant. Then as a tiger. How many births I will have to take? By the time all these samskaras which I have acquired in this birth will all go away. They may all
go away.
fade. So that worry may be there. So Krishna is assuring, don't worry, next birth 100% assured human birth. From where you left, immediately you will continue.
Continue from there.
Exactly. And in fact, I can tell you one more thing, because it's an extension of what I said. Not only that will be human birth, you may be born without many of the desires that we are born with, like getting married and all. You may actually have a desire for sannyasa right from early age. Like we have seen so many people. Swami Paramarthananda and all that, at the age of 13, 14 years, he has gone to the Gurukulam and studied. No thought of marriage, children, nothing. Even that attachment towards parents also is very weak. Adi Shankaracharya, 7 years he went away. So that birth that we get may actually also address all these peripheral problems. This birth, we got married, we got children, we got relatives and all that. We are totally bound in all these relationships, responsibilities, duties, expectations, etc. Now, if you are a serious seeker and you want this to be the ultimate goal, Paramam Padam is what? Whether this birth or next birth, then automatically many of these peripheral issues, they may get solved. And I personally look at all these Swamijis who have taken sannyasa, real sannyasa, not runaway sannyasa. Real sannyasa as those people who have actually come to this stage because of that only. So what we are today talking about, all this family and this thing and all, it may be irrelevant for the next birth rather. We will not get married, we will not have children. Even parents also, we may not have that much of an attachment. And mind you, I can give you examples where when we talk of the environment, the family and all that, where you are born, Swami Sadatmananda, who was one of my teachers in the Gurukulam, 3 siblings, they all become sannyasis. None of them have got married. They are all sannyasis. They are all teaching, and they are all students of Swami Dayananda Saraswati. Parents, you just imagine one child becoming a sannyasi is okay. All children becoming sannyasis. But then that creates the environment also for everybody, right? So this is all these things, one can observe, one can actually see these things happening, provided you have a keen eye, you are observing what is happening, why it is happening. So I personally have got a full faith in this whole thing rather. So what we have to do is we have to slowly, I mean, you cannot say that I have got so much responsibilities and something goes wrong, I have to take responsibility for that. No doubt that will be our starting point. But with this knowledge, slowly, we have to
build up.
Sure that we actually withdraw ourselves from that consequences of that action. We restrict ourselves only to what our discharging responsibilities, discharging duties. After that, what happens? Not in our hands.
Okay.
So that is how we have to approach this whole thing. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Talking about all these things, don't worry. Long way to go.
Thank you very much, Guruji.
Hariji,
Namaskaram. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste. Hariji.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I have a request. When the verse 18, which you are now teaching us, can the next class, can you teach us with Shankara Bhashyam?
That will take a long time, I tell you.
Only this verse, because this is something which we
see.
Only this.
I'll tell you what, Shankara Bhashyam, if you want to study, you must have a very good knowledge of Sanskrit. Do you have it?
No.
Then there is no point in learning Shankara Bhashyam. Because Shankara...
You will explain.
But what...
You will
no, I'll tell you what. The explanation which I will give you is based on Shankara Bhashyam only.
Okay.
All these, wherever I'm giving you, even Swami Paramarthananda is giving, Swami Dayanand Saraswati is giving in English,
Yeah.
it is not their own interpretation. It is how Shankara is interpreted, he is conveying it to us in English language.
Okay. Okay.
So the essence of Shankara Bhashyam will be there in the explanation which will be given for this sloka.
Okay.
But going by Shankara Bhashyam word by word, you must know Sanskrit grammar, because certain interpretations he will take. Then we have to know why that interpretation is valid as per Sanskrit language. For that, you should know the grammar. So it will be a very tedious process. Maybe you may be interested, but other 16 to 20 students may not have any inclination. So
Okay.
that's what it is. Okay. So that I'm sorry
Okay.
I to accede to that request.
My question still maybe next class or
Yeah.
that
This
is
topic will go for
no
one or two classes, so don't worry.
sadhu sadhana.
Sadhu
query-
sadhana, yeah, I've got the answer. The dhatu is sadhu.
Next class you can have it.
Okay, fine, no problem. As you wish. Okay. Or
Yeah,
tomorrow,
because
tomorrow, Vivek Chudamani, if you are going to be there, I can tell you in that.
okay.
Okay.
Okay
Right.
then.
Any other question, please? Anybody else? Nothing. Okay, I'll close the session. Thank you all very much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Guruji.
Thank you,
Hari Om.
Guruji.
Thank you.